I mean, you're playing with it. Yeah. And so...
I'm Ron Burgundy. Sarkhan goes grr, Johnny goes meow, Vivian goes boing, and Tez goes beep boop bop beep. Bolus says, I will kill you. Chromium goes roar, and Arcades goes defend us all. But there's one sound that no one knows. What does Liliana say? Boop, 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 boop.
So what does the fox say? Yeah. Classic. Yeah. Obviously a classic. I don't know who actually does that song. It's like a Swedish band or something, right?
Crap, I actually didn't look up the
Wait, you thought I was going to know that off?
No, I didn't even think, because it's more of like a YouTube hit instead. So I guess I got to search for that in a second.
Yeah, that's
you got it right. It's the what did the fox say? I
great
know I
song. Classic.
Cut out a bunch of. I didn't get all the Elder Dragons in there, and
that's tough.
Yeah, but it fits with the set that is coming out this week. So,
I like it.
Yeah,
I like what you did.
Anyways, welcome to CommanderSmiths.
We are the CommanderSmiths.
I am Adam Smith,
and I am Lowery Smith.
Silence you hear is cousins.
This is episode 21, and apparently we're cousins still.
21, we got over the 20 hump. Well,
20 hump?
I don't know. Something.
I didn't know 20 was a hump. I thought like 21 is the number when then you can
now
drink.
We can drink.
Yeah.
Now we're adults.
Now
we're
we can drink.
An adult
we were
episode.
under episode drinking the last,
we were doing it illegally.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say illegally, but probably frowned upon within the podcast community.
Yeah.
Who do these guys think they are? They only have like 12 episodes. Why do they get to drink?
Little teenagers.
Yeah.
Talking shit all the time.
Preteen.
Just being a-holes. Oh, yeah, because I guess 12.
Yeah.
It's not a teen.
That's how math works.
Gotcha. That's not math. It's the word teen, whatever. Anyways, you can follow us on Twitter at CommanderSmiths.
And you can email us.
Like, what do we do next?
At CommanderSmiths@gmail.com.
And then subscribe to us on YouTube as well, CommanderSmiths. One other thing I wanted to mention was... With this week, we almost missed another week because just scheduling wise, we had not really the 4th didn't really mess us up, but my mom's coming to town and our studio.
Thanks, Mom.
Our studio is actually in the basement in the extra bedroom. Yeah, the guest bedroom we have. So it just wasn't, it was a surprise. Oh, we're coming up. We're going to be here Sunday, and that's normally we do our podcast. So we're actually doing this Sunday morning.
So early. Oh, why didn't you do that? That would have been perfect.
That is. Damn it. All right, let's start it over.
Well, I would like to thank our sponsors for this week. No one. I want to thank no one.
That is pretty good because most of the podcasts we listen to, they all have their sponsors. We don't
do they?
have it. Yeah, they do. That's their opening segment stuff is they go, well, do the same thing we do with the following and us on all this stuff. And then we like to thank our sponsors, and it's like this one and this one and this one. That was a good one, Laura.
I don't listen, so I think I've seen them do it on like Command Zone on their YouTube stuff.
Command Zone's
and then I skip 5 minutes ahead.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. It's not the worst, but it is the worst because and they even make mention to it. Like most of you probably haven't even listened to this part because you'll skip ahead of our because it's like 5 minutes of sponsors and
which is great. That's good on them.
They're getting paid for doing all that,
money.
So it's good. Yeah. But what I was gonna say is with Twitter is really if for some reason you're like, why isn't their podcast up this week?
I'm so angry.
Check Twitter because I was about to. If this didn't work this morning, we were going to tweet out saying that we're just going to go to next week instead.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was going to kind of be understandable because it is our American holiday this week, America, 4th of July.
I don't think you got to say it like that.
America. No, I'm doing it like Randy. If you don't like America, you can get out
from South Park.
Yeah,
I got you. Yeah.
Not like, anyways, no politics.
Yeah, what's your deal?
It's morning, and then politics come out. No, I'm just kidding. This week we have actually 4, it's like 4 little kind of segments. What, you have a weird look on your face?
Well, I would just call it filling time. That's
filling time? This week?
Yeah.
Filling time episode?
Yeah.
Well, we got some interesting topics, though.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's good.
Yeah. I mean,
hopefully.
Well, there is some stuff, especially when we get into the spec stuff, because I think that stuff if people are,
it's moving at this point. Yeah.
Anyways, we're going to start off with we're going to talk about our two-headed giant. We did kind of an interesting two-headed giant this week.
Yeah, we did some sealed Tuesday night with a couple of friends, and it just we bought a box, just split up the packs and played some games, and I think we learned stuff from the initial two-headed giant, and then I think it went a lot better this time.
Yeah, and then we will go into Lowry's lore.
Yeah.
Lowry's lore time. How would we want to call that? Lore time with Lowry.
I like that one.
There we go. Lore time with Lowry is our second segment. He's going to kind of go over
Elder Dragon, way back when Legends came out type stuff.
Yeah.
So
kind of the background story of all that. And then we kind of want to talk about a topic with Wizards, but the potential or talk of them taking over the rules of
EDH rules, Commander rules,
banding cards and all that stuff.
You say banding?
Banding, I did. Banning.
They're never coming back with that mechanic. You can't just force it on our conversation here.
I don't even know why I went with banding. Like, we were never talking about banding. Oh, it's stupid. Anyways, yes, we're going to talk about Wizards and how they want to bring back banding because it's such a great mechanic.
One of the best they've ever done.
Yeah. Oh, God. And then,
I can't wait for that.
And then we're going to finish up with specs of the week, but it's going to be a little different. We're going to talk about the whole set of Battlebond and what you think we think
focus on foils and stuff like that.
What you should invest in, because foils have been going nuts, and it's not a set that was bought a lot, because they freaking spoiled not M19.
It's M19
core set.
Yeah, it's
technically
core set.
core
M19,
set 19.
The Monday after Battlebond was released.
Which, if they want to sell product, I don't know why they would do. Anyways,
it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, all right.
But let's move into segment one. So we did the sealed.
Yeah. So what we ended up doing, we had two friends, and we wanted to play two-headed giant with them. So we all sat down, split a box, which is 9 packs apiece. And so what we ended up doing was, each team opened up their first 9, or
each one opened them,
and then we decided which 9 packs we wanted to build 2 decks out of.
Yeah.
And then we played against each other, best of 3, and then we switched over to the other cards. And
so I feel like the first 9 packs we went with, our deck was pretty strong, but we went against Mark's 9 packs, which he had the Planeswalkers and the coin flips. And so we got... Well, the first game we won, my voice kind of cracked there a little.
Well, you're sad. You're sad about that. Yeah, the first game we won, it was grindy and it was a longer match.
Yeah.
I think that one lasted an hour.
Was it the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then we got rolled by
Akun.
Eye of Chaos, Akun.
Yeah, he got up to frickin' 40.
And it was game over, and that was turn. What did you figure out? Turn 6?
It was turn 6 or 7. Yeah, it was really quick.
And then the third game, we had control of that freaking game, but they got the Planeswalkers out, and that's the cool thing about Battlebond is you cast one, the other partner, if you have it in the other person's deck,
the other one.
And they cast them both at the same time. We were able to kill one. We got rid of the one that the
red one because
it would have killed our stuff.
It would have. They would have just minused it and said, all your tapped creatures are basically dead. We didn't have anything with power higher than 3. And so I was like, well, we got to get rid of that one. And
but the blue one was turning ours to 0-3, so
blue one just took over.
So then all they had to do was just start casting a couple creatures, and then we had that game on lockdown, and then they just kept doing, once they got those out, it was F. And then they still ended up getting Zender split out again.
Yeah, and then Drew, just outvalued us, and the deck just took over. Because I think we were out of cards at the end of that game, and
we didn't know
creatures.
Answers.
We had nothing. And we were using your packs that game, so
we had a lot of control. But they just with the Planeswalkers, it just really killed us. And then having both of them out at the same time was
well. And Planeswalkers, they're mythics. They're there for a reason. They're going to be quite good with the value, and so. It's going to be tough to beat no matter what.
If you get that in with that Battlebond stuff, which Battlebond is pretty sweet, but that two-headed giant format, it's so much easier to get all those cards because if you have it built right where each one of you has the partner instead of just having the partner in your same deck, there's a better chance of getting all of those. And so that's why almost every single game they had the key stuff, except for the first game. Did they even get either of those two out? They might have got out Zender Split and
Okun.
Yeah, but I don't think they didn't get the Planeswalkers. It was the second and third game. So you just need one of the players to draw it, and then the other one gets it. It's just, I don't know.
But really,
crazy.
Battlebond is really sweet.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
it's a very sweet set. I like that a lot.
And then
the second match.
Yeah.
So then, what did we build?
Switch over to mine.
Yep.
Well, I guess and then we completely kind of changed up the decks. I didn't pull a single mythic in mine, and I felt like I got like the least amount of value. Obviously, if you've watched our battle boxes or dueling
out
boxes,
of the three of us, he definitely did.
Out of the four of us.
Or 4 or 5. Yeah, thinking not including myself. Yeah, 4 of us total.
Yeah,
I got about what I paid. I think I made. It was value is around 25 to 30, which we paid 23.
And I had like $15 to $20 worth of value. But so what did we end up doing? You went.
Gosh,
I went blue-white.
And I was red-green.
No, you were black. And...
No, wasn't I?
Yeah, no, we had the black-white partner commanders and you with the warriors, and then you'd play the one, and I'd be able to go and get the other one.
Wasn't that from the first match? I think we're getting our matches mixed up.
No, that was the second one.
Was it?
You were black-blue in the first one, and I was red-green in the first one. And the second one, I was blue-white.
And I was red-black?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had the red hasty guys.
Yep.
The trample
that
haste.
Hellion thing. That's pretty sweet.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yep, because then I did have removal and stuff like that. That we ended up winning all 3 of those games.
Yep.
The last, I think the more notable game was the last game, because they came out, turn 2, and got out the one where it halves your life. Gorham.
Oh, yeah.
And the only creature that I was able to play was my zombie that came into play tapped. So we had no blockers.
Yeah, it was Vertices. And, so they halved our life. No, I guess that was one of them. And then so...
We got down to 3, and then we fought our way back. Like, it was a good battle, but it just, we drew a lot more with that game. And we were able to control it because we just... kill, and we had enough stuff out to block.
And we also hit them pretty heavy right after that, so we were able to kill Vertus.
Yeah.
And then I played like the 3/2 that taps if you have another warrior, and then the next turn you played the inner demon, and then I played master
that's right.
And then double strike. So it was we dealt like 10 flying damage.
10 flying, but then it got killed the next turn.
And then it got killed the next turn. But like that made it a bit more even. It was like 15-20. Yeah. So that was and then it was crazy starts for both teams, pretty much.
And then like I said, we got down to 3, and at that point we were just trying to get stuff out. Like all they had to do was draw any direct damage spell, any of that stuff, and they had it. They had the Hydra.
Yep.
That would come out, and he could put it to our face if we wanted to, and we're just like, we gotta kill it. We just gotta do this. We gotta get him now, and ended up winning that game. I was actually really surprised because. Starting out at turn 3, half our life.
Well, and the nice thing about like sealed, like that situation is that how much money you put into like an EDH deck really does help out like the power level of your cards. But when it's sealed and random like that, it really balances out the decks.
Yeah.
So one isn't just overpowering all the others and stuff like that. So that is one thing that I really do enjoy about sealed is that. If you put, I'm, again, like last episode, I'm pretty into this. I have been for a really long time, so I have a really big collection. And there are people that are new to EDH that just don't have that kind of collection that I almost have to hold back so they're not like, EDH sucks.
Yeah, you want to keep them interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we've talked about that before, where it's a lot more fun to make stuff... We have the stuff to be able to go and all the tutors and stuff like that, but the randomness, what we've been doing lately with our decks, it actually makes it a little more interesting because it's just
taking out the tutors helps.
Yeah,
I think for making a more fun game.
Yeah. One thing I will say though about Gorm F's with us every time. That card is ridiculous, and
he's a 2/7 vigilance, and whenever he attacks, you have to block him with 1 or 2 creatures. And 7 power or 7 toughness is a lot to kill. And like they have like assassinate in the set, and we always have a fistful of those, and then we can't kill Gorm because he doesn't tap.
He doesn't tap, yeah.
And just like Gorm's powerful. We gotta like.
We've come against him when we did this both times when we were doing it. Like, he's a tough effort to deal with.
So Gorn's pretty cool though as a card. Like when I had my Doran deck, he was in there and he would have been amazing. I just didn't get to play the deck, and then I killed it in the mass culling of decks that I did.
I did end up killing. When we talked to I think it was like 4 episodes ago or whatever, I did kill 4 decks, I think.
I killed 8.
You had to up me. No,
4 unsleeved, 4 sleeved. So
okay.
technically we're on the same page, but
that's crazy to get. I haven't put them all away yet. That's the part that's stressful for me. I have like this freaking huge box of cards that are good cards because I use them for decks and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, that's why I do it, is so that I get them back. Like I need to separate them back in, and then when I'm looking through cards, that's the reason why I did it, because I was running out of cards because I had 20 decks built. 2
things. One thing I noticed when I took it all apart was there were cards in there that either hadn't spiked when I put them in there because the deck's so old.
Okay.
Or I wasn't doing that at that point, where we were doing the proxies and all that. Where I was like, oh shit, this is a $25 card.
Oh really?
I was like, okay, this guy, I think I had probably a stack of 10 to 15 cards that were $10 or more that I was like, oh, gotta put these in the binder.
That's pretty sweet.
But then the other part of it is, it was almost like a 50-50 of my regular card, the real cards, compared to my proxy cards. So that was pretty interesting. I don't know. So just my decks, that kind of shows you I'm using a lot of when you have your proxy cards, when you have like how we do our rules, it shows you how much you actually use between all your other decks. There's about half of my cards. So,
and I would say roughly I use about 25% of my decks are proxies. I would have more if you had time to make me more proxies. But you avoid me whenever I ask you.
I have the sheet sitting next to my computer upstairs.
Sure, yeah.
I just haven't done your next set.
Yep.
You're such a douche. It's too early to drink beer. We're not drinking beer.
It is. I didn't bring one up, but I do have a good one for the next time.
But yeah, so overall, that was a good time. I think we decided, and you kind of brought that up, was we're probably going to do this kind of thing with almost every set. Not this set, where we buy a box and do a two-headed giant.
I'd be really cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's... Okay, so obviously if you watch Dueling Boxes, I'm awful at opening packs apparently. Never going to Vegas, all that stuff. So buying a box for $80 feels pretty bad when you don't get that value.
Although you did get your value on your last Battlebond.
Yeah, the Battlebond box was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But when we split the box, you get 9 packs and you pay like $25. That's...
And you play some
it's
games with it.
It's like $2.50 a pack, which is a good price. And then you play the games with it. It doesn't feel bad if you spent $25 on it and you got $15 in value. I think that's fine because that's not nearly as bad of a loss, I guess. I mean, you're playing with it. Yeah. And so...
I'm Ron Burgundy? No, I agree. I totally agree. It was... although I did get my value, so I don't know how that feels, Lowery.
Yeah. Seems to happen often.
But the thing I did mention when we were playing it is, and this happens when we do the pre-release and all that stuff, is I'll be the one that doesn't draw. Whenever I do pre-release, I typically never get good cards in those packs. But my decks do really well because I don't have like a card that I'm like, oh, I need to have this in there. To work. Yeah, and you force it. Whereas your deck or your 9 packs, we built pretty 2 solid decks.
Yeah, the decks were probably better than the ones that we built with your cards, and your cards were definitely better.
But yeah, we didn't, and it wasn't like we forced our decks for mine, but it's just, for some reason, you don't have to have the good, crazy cards in it, because it's...
Having the Planeswalkers really
that was...
them, though.
I don't know if we would have been able to deal with... that would have been interesting, playing the deck... If we had more time, if we didn't start so late, because we got done at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was.
It was 2, yeah.
Yeah, but to just have our deck play their deck of their first match.
That's a good point,
That would have been kind of sweet. That's what we do next time, so we got to do 3 matches.
You're so smart.
But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. We're going to probably continue to do that. Maybe at some point we do video with it, but I don't know.
Again, we want to be able to do video eventually for a lot of the playing, because it's, we're doing it and we're talking about it. Might as well
show you it.
But that's, I think, down the line. We don't have a camera. We don't.
That's the next. Well, we have our. I have my iPhone, but we want good quality stuff.
True, yeah. So we do the dueling boxes, but the setup's kind of hard to show. Magic
we wouldn't be able to do that with a game because we can barely fit both of our hands on there with us opening packs and everything. But yeah, should we move on to the next segment? Lowery's lore time with Lowery. The Lorlax. I don't know.
The Lorlax from Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
So
I want to hear about the Elder Dragon stuff because dragons are my favorite, and I want to know more of the backstory of all this stuff because there's
pretty much nothing. There really
isn't
a lot
we made
of
a segment for nothing.
So the original Elder Dragons came out in Legends, and they were how do you say it? They were very powerful. They were their power level in the stories are equal to Planeswalkers. Mm-hmm. They can actually technically Planeswalk, so they can go from plane to plane, but they don't have a spark other than Nicobolus, which came later after Legends and stuff like that. And they're all incredibly powerful. And so Elder Dragons were born essentially from the Dragon, who just got a card.
I was just going to say, is that the Dragon that from the Commander set from last year?
Correct.
Nice. Okay. So is that the first time they introduced the Dragon then? I think it is, isn't it?
As a card, or back then when they
I guess as a card.
Now I don't. As a card. Yeah.
We had Scion
of the Dragon, so that was probably one of the first mentions. The thing is that like a lot of the information I was taking, I didn't know where it was really coming from.
So you didn't know how true it was necessarily?
And that's the whole thing. Like back then, Magic wasn't really big. This is 95, 96, and so it hasn't been out for that long. Maybe 2 years. Mm-hmm. And so there isn't a whole ton of like official storyline information on Elder Dragons. There was 2 comics put out. Apparently a random forgotten like daily pull apart calendar with information on there. But nobody can find it, but people remember having it.
Weird. You'd think somebody would have it.
Yeah. And so it's just there's like random promotions for it, but it's not like a full story or anything other than 2 comics. And so the first one was and they're both kind of Chromium was kind of the main character in that one.
Yeah, Chromium from the original, that was my favorite out of the Elder Dragons.
He's like Silver Dragon.
Yeah. Silver Surfer in dragon form.
That's pretty cool, yeah. So Chromium can transmute into a human, and that human's name was...
Silver Surfer.
No.
It was Ham. I got it.
It was Ham.
Pretty close.
Literally Ham.
H-A-M?
H-A-M, yeah. And so he was like a sorcerer, and he put Palladia-Mors to sleep. And then Vivictus Asmati was like a dragon whelp somehow. I don't know how, but he was hanging out with another planeswalker. And Vivictus was trying to wake up Palladia-Mors so that he could become big again. So that happens. Vivictus gets big. Palladia-Mors goes on like a human rampage, killing everybody.
This is the comic you're talking about.
This is the comic, yeah. And then Chromium convinces Vivictus to put Palladia-Mors back to sleep. Comic 1. That's what happens.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
They should make a movie of that one.
And then the second comic is goes along. It was like I believe it was probably right around Ice Age time, per se. But it was like a meeting of planeswalkers, and Chromium kind of shows up. And there was like a battle at the end of this meeting because everybody wants to get off Dominaria because of the Ice Age, I believe.
They don't want to get frozen.
Well, the whole thing is, they didn't have the full... when I was looking, they didn't have the full comics or anything, so they were just doing like snippets and clips, and then they'd say what happened. But I think it's Leshrac and like another planeswalker actually kill Chromium and then use Chromium's body as like a planar gate to get off Dominaria.
Huh.
And so Chromium's dead. And that's comic 2, and that's all you got.
And these were made, you said, back in Ice Age? Like
no. This is it's 95, 96 when they were kind of printed. I believe it was like
that's
Armada
interesting
Comics.
That they had, like you said, Chromium as the main guy.
Probably because he could turn into a human, and people relate to humans best and humanoid things.
But now we have Nicobolus as our main.
Yeah, so Nicobolus, like technically, they're all dead.
Yeah.
Nicobolus apparently like came back to life and then got his spark. So he was the only one that actually became a planeswalker. All the Elder Dragons were as powerful as planeswalkers, so Nicobolus went to that like next level.
So, question really quick, and I don't know if you're going to be able
Probably
to answer
not.
this. Do you think that that's what this core set M19 whatever is trying to show, is that this is the point when Nicobolus flips? Because he goes from dragon and then turns into his planeswalker form.
It'd be really nice with the M19 set here is if they actually went a little bit more into the lore and like said what they did.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool, and I think that'd be interesting enough to actually hash out, because again, there just isn't that much from back then. And the other thing that I found was like there was an Elder Dragon War. So there was
just about to ask you.
There was a ton of Elder Dragons, and then there was a war. That's how that works. But so the Elder Dragons that lost actually turned into all of the worms across all the planes that you see. So WURM, and that comes from like you can visually see it with Elder Land Worm from Legends and Chronicles. And so basically those were the Elder Dragons that lost the war, and then that spawned the worm gene,
Craw
I guess.
worms
Yeah, craw worm, yeah. Scaled worm and plated
That's
worm.
interesting. Yeah, because you can see it, that they look like dragons, but they just don't have wings and arms.
Yeah, they're like snakes.
Remember Craw
They're
Worm
like
was
worms.
the baddie of when we were
I
kids?
loved it. I loved it. And then all dragons in the multiverse are spawned from the 5 Elder Dragons that survived, basically, the Elder Dragon War. And that was the 5 that are being printed here.
Gotcha. What about, there was something with Ugin.
So if you want to ask the question, and I'll ask it for you, why is Ugin not a landworm or an elder landworm?
Why is Ugin not a landworm, Lowery?
Because he died before the Elder Dragon War. So
if you die before, you turn into a ghost.
You're a spirit dragon.
And then you're amazing, and you turn into a planeswalker.
And so Ugin and Nicobolus are twins. And I believe, if I remember right, Nicobolus actually killed Ugin in a fight, and I think you found that out in Khan's block, like the storyline and stuff like that. And so I didn't really get into anything like, because Nicobolus kind of comes back in Shards of Alara.
Yeah.
And forward, that's when they started this whole big story thing. So I didn't really delve too deep into that because I think it's a lot easier to find. So go check it out. You're
trying to do everything
trying to center it around Legends, and again, there wasn't a whole ton. So I'll probably link like a video, and there was a good kind of little blog that I found that was pretty good. So I'll try and link those two. But the video's pretty comprehensive and short, like 9 minutes.
Was that it for all the Elder Dragon stuff?
The only other thing that I would want to mention is like they've come out recently in the Cons block. They did the Elder Dragons there, and then Dramoka and all those guys. And then you have the Elder dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Essentially, the meaning has changed for Elder from way back when till now, and essentially Elder now means because it means that they're very old, very powerful. That's all that means. It doesn't mean that the dragons were spawned from Ur-Dragon. Doesn't mean the dinosaurs were necessarily spawned from
the Ur-Dinosaur.
The Ur-Dinosaur. Exactly. So the Ur-Dino. And so the meaning kind of changed in that regard. And I would bet the next time, like maybe in Ravnica, they do a Niv Mizzet card and he's an Elder Dragon because he's old and really powerful and stuff like that. So they could easily do that because the Khan's dragons did come from the Elder Dragons.
So speaking of the next set, you just said it, and I'm Ravnica. God, it's like you just said it, and I was going to say it, and then I was moving on to my next thought. Where do you think we're going with Nicobolus? Do you think this is going to be
I think that's a showdown.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why they're previewing all this stuff almost kind of in a way, is this could be his Do you think his last stand?
It's like
or do you think he's going to kill
It's like
somebody?
a prequel. The M19 is a prequel.
Like just a refresher of this is going to be the last time you see Nicol Bolas, or you think he's going to take down some Planeswalkers? Because we got a lot of Planeswalkers. Vivian got introduced. Maybe they just kill her off right away because like
that'd be an awful character.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean that's a really good point. So let's say that you introduce Vivian. Does that mean they're going to kill off Nissa?
Yeah. I mean,
that's very possible. You got rid of Elspeth. I think there was some art spoiled. I haven't seen it specifically, but it was Elspeth looking black-white.
Oh,
so coming back from Theros, from the dead, and all that stuff. So that could be really cool coming back. So it'll be interesting to see. But if Nicol Bolas doesn't take down at least a couple,
do you think they'll kill Nicol Bolas?
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's what you got to.
But then you got out on dragons.
You gotta wrap up the story sometime. This Shards of Alara was 10 years ago. Like maybe not that long, but. You got to wrap up the stories. They wrapped up the Eldrazi storyline, but the Eldrazi's aren't dead. You know, they're just contained. You can't, they're cosmic entities and stuff like that. But Nicol Bolas is very killable.
Yeah.
But he's very powerful, and he obviously just whooped the Gatewatch back in Amonkhet.
Yeah.
But I think if it's going to be on Ravnica, I think you gotta take him down. And I think you got to kill off a couple of your Planeswalkers. You're good guys.
Yeah, I think that's partially why. Either they're going to kill Vivian, introduce her, and kill her.
No,
I think they're going to
like an expendable character.
Where did this person come? Oh, they're dead. Okay,
doesn't matter. I don't care.
See, we do kill good guys and characters.
I mean, it's assumed that Garruk is like basically dead because she was cursed by Liliana, and then he's just kind of disappeared. Since then, since Innistrad, the original.
Well, he had the flip at that point, right?
Yeah,
where he was the dead or whatever thing.
Cursed. Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll see what they do.
Nice.
But I think they've done a lot better with their storylines since the past. The past was pretty broken and pretty random and crazy, and they now it's a lot more coherent.
Well, so the funny thing is, before they killed the Origins app game that you used to play, like I remember I was playing that last year.
Yep.
Just when I was putting the boys down to bed, and it always took a long time to put them down. Like I was playing on my phone.
Yeah.
The cool thing about that was I actually really liked going through the story because then each set they put out, they keep telling the story, and I was like, whoa, this is really freaking interesting. I never got into this story. You were always, that's why
I liked it a lot
time
more,
with Lowery.
But I just, like, again, they are putting it out on their website, Wizards.
Yeah.
My problem is that they do spread out the information and they expect you to almost like piece it together. I'd like it at the end of maybe every set. They just compiled everything a little bit better.
And actually make it a story. Be like, hey, this is what happened. Yeah.
Because like they were going to be doing books and then they stopped doing books.
Well, and they were going to do movies and then that hasn't come through.
Yeah. I as far as I understand, Fox has the rights to a Magic movie still. I think that's probably why Teferi looks a lot like Idris Elba. Like that's my assumption.
Nice.
They're trying to do the same thing what like Marvel did with Nick Fury. So they like did a comic with Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, and then he's like, "I'll do that. I'll do that for your movies."
So. I think that's it for our lore, right?
Yeah, it's pretty sparse for anything actually factually. Yeah. There's a lot of like hearsay, but that doesn't mean any of it's really true. It's just kind of like made up.
You know what we should think about doing at some point, now we're kind of doing an on-air production, is I actually would want to hear like the actual story. I know we can look it up too, but it'd be kind of cool to hear
what people have kind of brought together.
Yeah, what from Shards of Alara on kind of thing.
That thing.
Boom, just going a quick, not right now.
Oh yeah, no, obviously I can't do that. We'll be back with a short break.
When we do lore time with Lowery, we can do more of like what's happening in this block or something.
Well, if they're going to kill off Nicol Bolas, maybe that's what we do. Just kind of do that whole story to see how did Nicobolas get to this point?
Yeah.
Because he was actually in Time Spiral as well, and like the mending kind of wrecked a spark, and that's what started this whole thing. I know that part.
See, yeah,
Does that make
I'd like
sense?
to hear
Yeah.
it because you do a good job of explaining all that stuff. So I don't know. I think it.
That's
I think
why
we got a new returning reoccurring segment, Lore Time with Lowery, the Lorax.
The Lorax. We can just call it the Lorax.
Let's move on to segment 3, which is going to be Wizards, the rules taking over, potentially discussion.
So there hasn't been any rumors or anything about
No.
Wizards taking it over. It's just something that we've kind of noticed a little bit over, the last couple of years.
Well, yeah, it's the drive of one of the main things was the drive of the Planeswalkers. By changing them to legendary is kind of one of the first signs.
Yeah. Well, I think the first sign really was when they went single color commander product, and then they actually made these can be your commander planeswalkers.
And then they just did it again in Battlebond.
And they just did it again in Battlebond. And from my understanding, the next set of commanders is going to have
Planeswalkers
commander
again.
planeswalkers again. So it seems like that's a little bit of a push going on right now.
Yeah.
And so in our thought was they're really kind of pushing it. So are they willing to take it a step further and just take over the rules committee for themselves for Commander? Because it's a damn cash cow for them.
Yeah. Do you think that they'll? I'm
Would
on
they?
the fence with it. Do you think they would hire the same people that are already doing it, or they'd have their own?
I don't think they have to hire anybody because it's maintained. It's a pretty good ban list. It's basically taking out any of the unfun cards or too powerful. And there's a lot of powerful stuff that happens in Commander, but like
The stuff that's just broken.
Yeah.
I mean, we had discussed about doing an episode, which we still might do, of cards that we want to take off, like that could be taken off the
But
list.
it's tough because you're just
you
like,
go
yeah,
through
I
and you're
see
like,
that. I see
I know
that.
why that's banned. I know that's banned. Like, it just makes sense with it. But yeah, I mean, with Wizards taking over, not saying that they are, just the talk of it, I think it'd be nice to just have it coming from, I don't know. For me,
One
I'd
central
rather,
location.
Yeah, we have all the other formats that are banned. The ban list comes from Wizards. And then we have Commander, which is their biggest driving force for selling.
A ton of cards, yeah. And they make a ton of money off Commander.
Yeah, and even subsets. I mean, you put out Battlebond. The people that bought Battlebond is probably 80% Commander players, maybe even more
That
than
do
that.
sealed.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So
I mean, just to buy the cards in general.
Yeah.
You know, the lands are going to go up like crazy because Commander players are putting those all in their freaking
and
decks.
a lot of those cards just weren't good for Legacy or Vintage.
Yeah.
And so
There's better cards that if you're spending the money on Legacy and Vintage, you're getting the dual lands and all that. Well, these...
But with Commander, a lot of these cards were really good for Commander, added a ton of variants for your Commanders. I think the Commander crowd is what helped out Battlebond sales.
So that's where I'm like, why do we have this one that it has a ban list from not Wizards, and then you have all these other formats that have the ban list? Like, isn't he Popper even have is their ban list by?
Sure. Yeah.
By
Because
Wizards?
that's so my thought is like I would prefer Wizards to stay away from the ban list and just doing most any controlling of Commander, because what that does is that it almost makes it more of a legitimate format, and then it becomes like it goes up a notch of competitiveness, because then they start running tournaments of Commander, and they already kind of do, but competitive tournaments where there's prizes that get.
But I'd like to see that more. That. It isn't going to stop us from playing Commander.
Sure, but I think it takes it away from the competitiveness, or like
because there is
the casualness of it. There's definitely competitiveness, but
no, I was going to say competitive Magic. Like they actually do run stuff, but it's all 1v1 pretty much, isn't it? I mean, I'm not sure
for Commander.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they have the 1v1. Like they have the 1v1 rule, the ban list with all that stuff.
Do they? I don't think they do.
Is it?
I don't think
the
they
same
have
group?
anything. Yeah, I think it's the same crew
really?
everywhere.
Jeez.
That's
just kind of crazy to me, though, thinking about it. But I can see what you're saying here with what you just said there.
I'd much rather let it stay casual, because the more, like, if you had casual modern, it'd be much more fun. But since we have so many decks to look at and go off of in variants, it becomes super efficient, and then that's how you feel like you need to build a deck. And so the more exposure, like video-wise, and on a main stage like Star City Games putting it out there on the web, the more a deck will become, I guess, in my opinion, not fun to play. But the further you got to go that way, because more and more people are going to gear that way because that's how they see it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my problem. Now I see efficiency in coming from all banless and restricted coming from the same source. That'd be really nice, but
well, yeah, and I guess one thing that could have been the part that still kind of irks me from back in December-ish when they unbanned the unsets for that time, because that's when I was like, oh crap, these are unbanned. Now Wizards would have done that, and we don't know, maybe Wizards kind of was like, hey, you guys should unban this to sell our unset, which actually turned out to be that sold like crazy, like that set.
Those lands are gorgeous.
Ridiculous. But anyways, that if that would have come from Wizards, just being like, all right, we're unbanning this for a couple months, it would have been like, you guys are just freaking trying to sell
cash
product.
grab. They already get enough, ammo fired at them for cash grabs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I can see that, where if they did something like that and it was Wizards that was doing it, you'd get a crap ton of backlash. Even still, I think that they were nudged, hey, you guys should do it on ban.
They might have been contacted. I can definitely see that, but again, I don't have that problem either. That's more of the casual crowd as well. If you're going unsets, I just you kind of need a use for unsets, and right now there just isn't one.
Well, I've heard a lot of is that unsets are more, it's kind of their testing ground to see what's working with the mechanics, and then if things work in the unsets, they can sometimes move them into like a different form of it, but it gets them into a regular mechanic in a card in a later set.
I'd have to look through older unsets to see if there's something.
I was listening to the podcast, The Drive to Work.
Oh,
what's his name?
Mark.
Oh yeah, Rosewater. So he actually mentioned that they test things out
that are really crazy,
just to see how it works in there, and then to see if it'll work in that they might use it for an actual mechanic later in other sets. So I thought that was interesting, because I had heard somebody talk about that sometimes the unsets are a test subject in a way to see, because that'd be kind of interesting to see. I don't know, the melding thing was kind of weird, but the thing I did like was
But you already had meld.
But taking the two cards of like the putting them together kind of thing.
Sure, but you already kind of had that from like the Shadows over Innistrad block, where two cards came into play. You did something, and then
you flipped them over, and they had the
and then they're a huge random Eldrazi. But so you kind of already had that.
The contraption, isn't that what that one was?
Sure, there are contraptions.
Three. No, is that contraption? No, what is that one called? It was the
gadgets,
gears.
Gadgets. Giggity.
But yeah, it's the one where each turn it moves to a different gear, and then whatever you have on your gear. Why am I completely brain farting on it? But whatever.
You're the one that bought a box.
I bought 2 boxes.
I bought like 4 packs. Yeah, and I was like, all these cards are. I can never use.
Yeah, I have almost the full set of it, but it's mainly because I was going for the land on those. Mm-hmm. So I have multiple decks that have full land of that. Anyways, oh, that's my wife doing dishes.
She's loud doing dishes.
All right, so yeah, is that pretty much it for?
We could do that. Now we started off looking at it and saying like, Planeswalkers, they're pushing for that to be legend or like be your general. Now we kind of tried that out when the first time they allowed it to be commanders.
Right.
Would you be okay with that if Planeswalkers could be your commander?
Yeah, we had talked about when we discussed it before. There were certain ones where like this one you shouldn't be able to use as your Planeswalker.
Yeah, and that was like I think the only one that I can remember that we like banned in our group because we were kind of testing it out a little bit. Was Soren Markov.
Yeah.
Being able to cast your commander and then put somebody to 10 life felt a little unfun and unfair. Yeah.
Well, I think we had also talked about Liliana.
Yeah, Liliana the Veil, but I think at the same time, like, nobody had her at that point.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that was a real consideration. We never got to see what she did.
Yeah. I'd be down with them being Planeswalkers. And I did hear on the Command Zone podcast where they talked about that them being
if they did it or if it was
they said one thing that would have to happen, which I can see and agree with, is that doubling season would have to get banned, which I am not a fan of. Because
that's a good point. Yeah, you'd have to ban
all these commanders
doubling
that
season.
You have doubling season out and your commander ultimates and you win the game pretty easily. So I can see that, and that makes me sad in a way if it gets to that point where we're losing doubling season, because I love doubling season. It not only just with commander or
that's a good point. I'd rather have more commanders than doubling season. So I like options. But again, I build a ton of decks, and I'm always rotating through decks. So.
Well, that was one thing we had talked about when we get to the new sets, when we start doing our kind of Pete on commanders. We're going to try to, at some point, do a deck, build it, and play it before the set actually comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things we talked about was opening up the Planeswalkers as their fair game, even if they aren't
legal. Yeah, we would just still have them in there because they're cool to work with and
it'd be cool to build. You definitely can. They don't have to be Planeswalkers. You can use as commanders. You can definitely do that. We kind of said you could, but then no one's really done it since when we, as a play group, did it. Everybody's just used the ones that say Planeswalker can be used as your commander.
We veered off a little bit, and then we kind of came back to the rules
just
because it was super easy, and then because people would show up or not show up and not know what was going on a little bit. So
we started getting different people, and now especially we've been playing with a lot of different groups that we're just sticking straight to the.
So I think it's a lot easier
list.
if you have one consistent play group, but if you're changing and if it's always changing, then you got to be like, well, yeah, we're doing this and this and this, and they're all variances, but you're not, so good luck. That's not super fun.
You could build a deck for each of your play groups.
You could do that.
Here's your decks that are banned list play group. Here's this play group that allows everything. Here's the.
You could do that.
But yeah. Anyways, I'd be down. What about you? What do you think with Planeswalkers? Like you said, you'd rather have.
I'd rather have Planeswalkers than doubling season. I would like it because I did build at least one deck with I think I did Kiora.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed it, but just had to take it apart because the play group wasn't hitting stuff.
Yeah, hitting microphones. What are you doing, Lowery?
I don't know. Getting
just
aggressive.
Trying to make noise.
Getting aggressive. So I do like it. I would probably like it if they moved towards that direction of allowing them to be commanders.
What if instead, not just changing the rules back, saying all Planeswalkers can be commanders? What if moving forward they kept sprinkling in, this one can be a commander, this one can be a commander, this one can be a commander, and then keeping doubling season? Then would you keep doubling season because you're getting sprinkles here and there of Planeswalkers, or would you want it all rule change back?
All rule change back. Because right now there's only one commander that's a Planeswalker that works with doubling season.
Yeah, because the green.
And so unless you're sprinkling it in and all non-green ones, they're all non-green.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually you're going to hit a critical mass of green Planeswalkers that can have it in the deck, and then you're going to have to ban it. So might as well just get it out of the way right away, in my opinion. So
sell your doubling seasons now.
So the other thought is, which would suck, is what they do for when a really good card is in standard, they don't make good cards that go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really depowers that color. Like when Snapcaster Mage was in standard and then Ponder was in standard and it was just nuts. And then all the sets after Snapcaster Mage, blue was awful.
Yeah, and they try to balance it out afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. And they did that with Mono Black during Theros, and that's what they kind of end up doing. And I think that would really suck if they're like, well, we're going to keep doubling season around, but make really shitty green Planeswalkers. That can be commanders, but they're shitty. I don't want that.
You could do it so that their ultimate doesn't happen the first turn they come in. You can make every one of them be like...
That's what I said. They're making shitty Planeswalkers.
Well,
if they're doing
you can make them still good, but just make it so they have to do it.
Right. Yeah. We've already said...
What Lowery's saying here is... sell your doubling seasons. You could probably wait a little bit on that, because once that ruling comes out that Planeswalkers can be your commander, be ready to sell your
I
Dublin
think they'll
seasons.
move towards that.
Actually, now I'm like talking myself back into it. They probably won't ban doubling season right away, so that will spike like crazy. Then you sell it, because I don't think that's going to come hand in hand. Do you? I think it's going to be.
I think you will.
You think they'll do it both
I think
at
they'll
the same time?
I think they'll ban certain
Banned?
Planeswalkers.
Are we going to ban Planeswalkers?
No, we're gonna have Planeswalkers in a band.
I can see that.
Sauron's he's so emo.
Garruk breaks the drums because he's too muscular.
Oh shit! How do we get here?
Well, I'm just trying to think of what characters would be in what guitar.
Soren get banned automatically in my mind. I think that's clear cut ban right away. And so if you're banning him right away, I think you go and ban doubling season at the same time, and then whatever Planeswalker you feel isn't.
So it's
going to
be a huge change when that happens.
I think so. I think you do it all at once.
So what do you think on doubling season? My thought on that.
I think you still have time. I think at least let it recover from Battlebond reprint.
Yeah, and then sell.
Yeah,
because I
can see if it gets up to 60, I would say probably sell all of them but one.
What makes them unban or unbanned? Make commanders or planeswalkers legal. Like you have the people that are doing the ban list and all that stuff. I mean, if supposedly the rumors are right that this fall the commander set is planeswalker driven, why wouldn't that be the time that they do it?
Because it's a very low selection of planeswalkers.
But no, what I'm saying is they're introducing it. Why that would be the best time at that point to go, all right, these are all we're introducing all these can be your commanders. Now we want all planeswalkers to be legal except for blah 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 blah.
Well, and that probably comes in with the separation between wizards and the separate ban list people. So
do you think they're having discussions about it? Because I think that this is the time that it's going to happen. I think if anything,
Wizards writing a really nice polite note like, hey, if you guys were thinking about making planeswalkers commander, now would be a really great time.
Because that would really drive everything. It's going to. And that's one thing we had kind of discussed too, is that if this is going to happen, take a look at some of those multicolored, really cheap planeswalkers right now, because those could become commanders and those prices could jump, especially the foil ones if you can get them for dirt cheap. Some of the shitty ones, but as your commander, they could be really good. Right now, they're just crappy, So I don't know. We're just talking, just
chit-chatting.
But we should probably move on to our next segment because we're running up to time, kind of.
Yeah.
So next segment, we're kind of going into, or did we have anything else you wanted to say on that?
I think that was about right.
Okay. Because we can come back to that later, too, if it starts getting more steam. Next segment is kind of, so it is our spec segment, but we're kind of just lumping this all in. So
some specs of the week!
You went too fast.
Oh, sorry.
That's what she said.
Sorry. Well, never to me. It's more like, hurry up.
Are you done yet? I want to go to sleep.
Embarrassing.
So what we want to discuss, it's kind of like we did with Masters 25, a couple months after Masters 25 came out, we're like, okay, here's kind of the cards you want to look at because the prices are probably going to start going up. Well, with Battlebond, it's a little quicker for what cards you should start picking up because
it's happening fast.
The foils of things are True Name Nemesis has always been high because it was the first time it was printed in foil.
It's a
and
legacy
it's
staple in a bunch of decks. It's super good in legacy.
So it's $236, but you're getting some of the stuff for the first time being printed. Like Bright Lane is at $99. It was at $130 at one point. I think this is more of what
in the last couple days.
Yeah, more of what the cost is. But you have Nagila is at $90, of Arena Rector at $85. I mean, that's just, these are crazy prices even for foil for a set that just came out. You know?
Yep.
Normally.
But again, I think this is a lot of commander push for they're like, this card's crazy, this card's crazy.
So out of the things that haven't spiked, there's a few things I kind of wanted to discuss with you and to tell our listeners what they should maybe spec on or pick up is, I guess the main ones are the lands. I mean, the lands we've been talking about are these are going to be used in almost every commander deck that uses
those
these
those
colors.
lands are really great, like Morphic Pool and stuff like that.
Luxury Suite and all that stuff.
And those ones range from like 35 down to 25 at this point.
Yeah.
And I mean, what do you think the ceiling is on that? What would you?
I think soon-ish they're going to be 50 plus, 40, 50
Easy.
plus. Yeah, I mean, at least 40 in the next month or two, and then we're going to see 50. I mean, these are going to be used all the time. And the thing is Battlebond isn't getting opened as much. It's not like it was a failure set and it was bad or anything. It's
They just moved on from it so fast. They didn't let
how
it breathe at all.
Wizards did this. It made it so that Battlebond isn't going to sell. A ton.
Because from what I was hearing, there was like a card store that did Battlebond the first week it came out, Battlebond the second week it came out, and then Dominaria since.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, why did they do that?
Yeah.
I hear Dominaria is super fun to play in Sealed and Draft and all that stuff. But again, Battlebond is meant for this. You should allow it to, it's not a cheap wine. It's a fine wine. You open it, let it air out a little bit.
It's just crazy that, it, like you said, the next day or the next Monday.
It came out on a Friday. Monday, core set
the starting
spoilers.
Release.
And you're
like, what is going on? And that still was like on the Wizards spoiling schedule. It still was like 2 weeks early.
It was 2 weeks early. We should be talking about spoilers right now.
Yeah, this should be Friday should have been the last. Or Thursday should have been the last day that it came out, and this came out. The last ones were 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, the lands in this set are going to be used. Every single deck that uses these colors, at some point, I bet you they do a Battlebond too, so we get the enemy colors.
That would be great if you got the enemy colors, but I mean the question is like when are these things ever going to get reprinted?
No, yeah,
I don't think they don't
might get
fit
reprinted
anymore.
in a commander set, which then they're not going to be foil.
They don't do expensive lands in commander product though.
But if the regulars stay, I think the regulars are even going to
the regulars are going to be up to $20.
Yeah.
If they didn't do it this year, they're going to be easily up to $20 next year.
Yeah,
and so they wouldn't reprint it in there. Like the most expensive land they've reprinted is like $7.
Yeah. I can see these
in my mind
settling at 50-ish. They could go higher depending on what you're saying there, is if they don't reprint this, and if they do reprint it down the road for some reason in a commander set or something like that, but you're saying like they don't do that with the lands, but if they decided to do that, they won't be foil.
Yeah, and then they won't be foil, and then the foils go even more crazy if they get a reprint.
And the interesting thing too is the way these this whole set was more of like sports themed.
Sure. Yep.
That isn't going to fit necessarily in a set. I mean, they do try to do that.
I can't wait until these cards get printed in the next unset.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's
the black bordered cards and it's hard to see where they're going to be able to reprint them. And they are just so good in Commander.
Yeah.
So
I haven't made the switch yet. I haven't edited my decks to put these in, but I haven't got enough copies.
You haven't
made my proxies.
You haven't
yet.
made me any proxies.
Yeah, I haven't designed them yet. So that'll be coming because these are pretty. I like the art on all 5 of these lands.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
But so besides the lands, do you have any? I have some other ones that I wanted to talk about, but do you have any offhand that you were thinking about that kind of caught your eye?
Well, I was thinking maybe we just head down the list.
Kind of go down the list a little bit. Okay.
So like, I would say actually a good buy right now would be like the Doubling Season foil at $70.
Yeah.
Again, if it doesn't get banned, scary. It's
by Adam and Lowry's ban list because we think it's going to get banned.
It's it being a foil at $70 is a pretty good price when before the reprint the non-foil was $60.
Yeah.
And so I think we both agree that Doubling Seasons will eventually get up to $60 again, and that foil is going to get, in my opinion, over 100.
And the other thing is, if you do the eBay when they do the 15% off, you can get those for basically
a lot cheaper. Yeah, okay,
$60 as well. That's the thing that eBay's been doing a lot lately. It's kind of crazy. I think they're just
and that's when we buy our boxes.
Yep.
Like
we do the 15% off, and you get it off. But so you can get it for $60 if you wait for a 15% off coupon thing. But yeah, I think on the same lines with that, like Doubling Season, you're looking at what is it? Greater Good. You could potentially pick up right now. Seedborn Muse is another one.
Yeah, I was thinking Seedborn Muse at 25 was a pretty good pickup for foil.
What do you think about Diabolic Intent? I think
at $21.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite tutor, but it has to go in a specific deck in my mind. Like, it'd be fine in my Regina and Krav deck
because you're sacrificing
and still getting value out of it. Like,
it's still pretty good.
It's really good.
Yeah,
it's a really good card. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But the reason why it was so expensive before was because of the lack of supply. Now, hopefully, you get a bit more supply. You could have potentially doubled the supply with Battlebond because Plane Shift was not. That's an old set.
Yeah. Arcana's possibly one, maybe. Foils are 19. I mean, the regulars were at 60 or 50 at one point.
I'd put that on the lower end of.
Because we both agree that Cryptgast is better for
I think
EDH.
Greater Good at 16 foil is a pretty good buy. I really like Greater Good as a card in general.
Yeah, that is a really good card. So out of those are pretty much the ones. Well, Mind's Eye, that's $9 for a foil.
Well, you want to talk about the ones that you bought?
Well, that's what I was going to get to is the next part. So I'm talking about the ones with reprint kind of ones right now. Yeah. So like you had mentioned when we talked before the podcast, Veteran Explorer, this is the first time it's foil, and that's why it's at $10.
And that's in a legacy deck called blanking on the name.
Let's see if I can find it. Legacy.
No.
White, blue, black, green. I know that deck. It is on.
Why can't I think of the name of it? Yeah, so it's in a legacy deck. And just the idea is, you have basics. Sometime your legacy opponent doesn't have basics. If they do, you're able to utilize the more land to where they're probably pretty efficient and not going to actually use the extra land. So you're playing more powerful cards.
What about
works with Cabal Therapy, stuff like that.
What was I going to say here? Vigor, kind of those cards, Vigor and Tidespout Tyrant. I mean, those in the foil are pretty cheap right now. You can get for $7-8. I think those are potentials for pickups.
I think Beast Within is too expensive at $7 for a foil.
Because it's been printed so many times with foil too.
I think that's too expensive if you're looking at it. Core Spirit Dancer at $6-7 is a pretty good price for foil. Because that's it's on a downswing in Modern Boggles. But if they print another aura that works well with it, or a different creature that's really good, then that deck goes on the upswing, which means these foils go higher.
Yeah.
And so, like, the card regularly was $8 before this reprint. So if you're getting the foils for that price or under, I think that's a pretty good price.
I think that's pretty much it for the reprint ones that I would go after. You can get some of the higher ones. Like you said, Doubling Season was one that you would probably... First time land tax is in foil, isn't it?
No, that has a Judge promo.
Oh, is it Judge
That's
promo?
where the art comes from, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yep, you're right. I guess the other one that is like that as well is the one that came in the Commander set originally, Mystic Confluence, but that has a Judge promo as well,
that
foil.
One, yeah.
But that one is potential to go up as well, because just
at $13. Yeah. Again, I think that's a super powerful card in Commander. It's a little too expensive for Legacy, not playable in Modern.
I think at 13,
legal.
You could that one would probably get up to around that $20 range. But some of the cards that I think. The second part of this is going after the ones that this is the first time they've been printed. If you look
first
at
and only time,
the top of the list, like I was talking about before, Brightling, Najeela, Arena Rector, you have Stunning Reversal, you have Spellseeker, you have Thrilling Encore, Archfiend. These are all $30+. A lot of these are close to freaking
in my
100.
opinion, I don't think those cards are good enough to be like Thrilling Encore shouldn't be $30 foil.
No, I know.
Spellseeker's probably good enough, but that's sitting at 50. So in my mind, that'd be a $30 foil. So I think a lot of the higher end stuff for the first time prices are overpriced at this point.
Yeah, you had Archon. Well, it's spiked at 100, but that's not really what the price was.
Yeah,
it's down to 36, but still 36 for a foil of that.
I think Brightling at $90, $100 is too expensive.
Oh, sounds so interested with your yawn talk.
I'm yawning.
Oh, bright light. Well, yeah, the regular print into that is 20, is what you're saying there. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. That
I think maybe the only high expensive first printing one is Arena Rector at 85. If you get a foil of that, I can see that going up.
Yeah. So not saying going after those.
Yeah, I wouldn't
These
go
are
after it.
The ones that I all just named are ones that I think are kind of, you missed the boat on if you wanted to try to get them for cheap or whatever. Those are pretty high. What I was thinking is along those lines, the first printing foils are cards that, just got printed in the set for the very first time. So I actually, this week, I spec'd on Pier, the imaginative rascal, and his buddy, which
Toothy,
is
the
Toothy, imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Those two, just Pier by itself is kind of like, your doubling season effect in a way. It's the parallel lives kind of thing. So it's a good card in general without having Toothy.
Parallel lives? No.
Not parallel. Parallel lives. Yeah.
You mean like Hardened Scales or...
No, because it's you know what I'm saying. Adding, putting
Yeah.
counters on. It's not doubling. That's the
Parallel
one downfall.
Lives doubles tokens.
Yeah. But no, I was saying along the same lines of like putting extra
Counters on
tokens
certain
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the fact of partnering those two together, this could potentially go away. Both of those working together is pretty insane with your draw engine of that. With Pier, you can pick up. Let's see. I was picking with a 10% coupon. I got him for $9, $8 or something like that. But he's going for about 13 right now. And there was a very, very limited supply of that. I think there was only 20 copies of him left, or 20 different vendors that had him. Toothy, I was able to get around $6 with the 10% coupon. You can probably pick him up around $8. And then kind of the same line with the picture-wise is Pier's Whim, which I think is a really good card, which we kind of played when we did our two-headed giant, and we figured out, I was like, oh man, you can get any land.
Any land and getting, yeah.
Everybody else sacrifice an artifact or enchantment can be kind of brutal. And Commander, because the only thing I wish you could do is choose. Like, you're sacrificing this, and that.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's not how sacrifice works, though.
Or you make them I guess. Yeah, you're right. Destroy wouldn't work if it was indestructible, so whatever. Yeah. But, so I think that's a really powerful card. So I actually picked up a couple of those as well.
And foil.
Yeah, foil for $6 as well. But those I can see going way up because those are going to be used.
All of those cards that do multiple to friends or foes, those cards are really good in Commander. Yeah. Like, I highly suggest at least going out and getting a copy of each of them.
And then along the same lines with how I was talking about with Toothy and everything is the partner commander stuff. Krav, your Pete on commanders.
Krav and Regina, they're sitting about $10-11.
They're pretty good commanders in themselves. Krav is good by himself without having.
Krav is ridiculous by himself.
Yeah.
So, I think them sitting around $10-11, they're probably worth it as commanders.
Yeah.
And legends that are foil tend to be kind of exponentially get more expensive as well. So I would suggest that, along with what you're about to say here.
Oh, I'm on the fence with this one. Well, here's the thing. So I think Zender Split and I always like doing Eye of Chaos, but Okun are really, really powerful commanders. Mm-hmm. But I think this gets a niche crowd because it's the flip coin stuff,
Again, I think once people figure out that Okun is essentially like a one-turn
monster
kill, he's monstrous, and then adding in the blue with Zender Split allows you to draw cards and keep ahead, even though you can be aggressive. I think these guys are really good without a flip coin theme to it at all.
Well, and that's what my deck mostly was, but that's what I was on the fence with. I wanted to kind of talk to you about is like, do you think these would go up with everything like that? I feel like you're getting the people that wanted the flip coins bottom. Do you think people that don't necessarily want to use the flip coin
theme,
because then it's more luck?
Legend. I think with them being legends and niche, I think they'll end up being quite expensive. I can see them getting up to $20-$30 eventually. Okay. Especially if we're thinking that it wasn't open nearly as much as it should have been.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
I can see all of the foil legends being pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So if they're 10 or under, I would say the legends are worth buying.
Legend rares.
Legend rares.
Because didn't they have a couple uncommon ones?
that were partners, but they weren't legends.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Yep, you're right. They kept them all. It was Dominaria that did the legendary, uncommon stuff. So I think out of all that, don't you think that's mainly the ones that you would kind of go after? I kind of was going through. Would you do, I mean, the legend rares, like you said, or legend creatures? You can get some of those partners, but the main ones that we just talked about, I think those are the top 3 commanders, or 3 pairs, partner commanders you would go after. But now is almost the time because everything else is going. So there is a potential for these to go sooner rather than later.
Yeah, based off of like the high commander demand, in my opinion, that should be here because this is a great set for commander. Mm-hmm. And then with potentially the low supply that there was, and opening of it, I think you're going to get a lot faster uptick of prices. I think it's already shown that it's raising super quick.
So with that, we're saying foils right now. Yeah. Regulars, you have a little bit of time, I think, on.
I would agree. I think
lands might go sooner than anything.
Yeah, I need to sit down and buy the Morphic Pool and the like Sea Cloud, whatever, blue-white one. And then I have at least one of each.
Yeah, I got one of each from opening. No, I had to buy one, and then I had one of each. Now I have an extra, but I almost pulled the trigger on buying those this week, just the regular ones, but I think we still have a month or so with those being lower priced, and then that's going to start rising because you can pick those up between $4 and $6 right now, the regular ones. But like you said, the foils are at 24 on the bottom end and 30 on the high end, and that's just going to go up.
So like just to reiterate, I would say the partner legends, I'd say anything in foil there. So like the knight with the dragon, even though you don't think they're as powerful, it's a dragon. People love foil dragons that are legends. And then just pairing it with white is just as good for the knight theme along with it. And then you have Gorm and Virtus. Those are pretty cool cards, as legends. And then again, the friend or foe sorceries, I would go and get those as foils. They're really good.
Yeah.
So, and they're each one has a color. Get those in foil. I think those are the cheaper ones other than Per's Whim. Yeah. Per's Whim is like what you said, like $8. You got it?
Yep.
I was seeing
$6. I got those down to $6 if I got a 10%. So yeah, they're probably gonna be around $8.
And the other ones are just under like $5.
Yeah.
So I think those are well worth it.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think that's pretty much wraps up our episode this week, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. We got through that.
I know. We had a lot of little stuff, and we're like, are we gonna be able to turn this into an hour? But yeah, I think we were just talking.
Yeah, you're really good at just talking and talking. I love the
Never
sound of
shut
your voice.
up.
No, I didn't. No, I'm not negative. This is a positive podcast.
Positive podcast.
I call it a positive
Liliana
cast.
say? What did she say? I don't know.
Just like you're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead.
Yeah, I was trying to think of.
I'm a necromancer. You're alive. You're alive. You're undead. You're
no. Did
you're
I write
undead.
Liliana on here? No, I was putting like what each person would say, and I was like, I don't know what Liliana would say.
Well,
like
it's just a person.
Well,
dead. Yeah, she's not dead, but a necromancer. That's fine. She doesn't have a lot of friends. That's why she makes them.
Dead ones, so they don't
Zombies.
talk. So she doesn't have to talk to them. Anyways, catch us on Twitter at CommanderSmiths.
And then you can email us at Gmail. At Gmail. You heard it. CommanderSmiths@gmail.com.
And YouTube, subscribe to us. I think that does it for this week. Next week is...
Release week?
No, you? What are you doing next week? Spotlight.
Am I doing that one? I thought you would do it. But yeah, we're going to do Commander Spotlight at least. We both have a deck ready. I'm going to be doing Vivictus, Asmati, the
I wouldn't say
Dire.
mine is ready. I just have all the cards, and now it's the narrowing part.
Jesus. You've had like 3 weeks to do this.
No, but I haven't done it yet. I'm
okay,
busy.
well, I guess I'm going to be doing it.
That's why I pointed to you.
It's going to take Adam 2 weeks to pare down his deck. It took me like a day.
Yeah, it takes me a long time.
Maybe 2. It took me a long time too.
Yeah.
2 days.
That is... I'll try. I have all the cards, but then I have the theme that I'm trying to mix in there.
Yeah.
So
okay.
We'll see.
So yeah, I'll talk about the Dire next week, and
we'll see
we'll
what
figure
else.
out something else.
We'll tell you next week what else we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting though, so you'll want
sure
to stay
it will
tuned.
Be. Yeah, we're so creative.
Stay tuned. Why did I say that? It's not like they're like we're going to commercial
to
break.
be continued.
Yeah, there we go. All right,
Part
that's do it for this
22.
week. You guys have a good week, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
See ya.
Goodbye.